Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay. My name is Gabby Silva. I am 29 years old, and I have been coming to FBE for 4 years. Growing up, I was raised going to church and believing that there was a God who created the universe and who created everyone and everything around me, but I never heard the truth that God wanted a relationship with me. I was always raised believing that if I sinned or if I disobeyed my parents, which was every day, that God would look at me as a disappointed father and he would just see shame in me, and I never grew up hearing that he loved me and he wanted a relationship with me. At the end of middle school, after going to a private school for 9 years, my parents and I made the decision that going to a public school for high school would be the next best step. Middle school was not an easy time for me. I always felt like I didn't have the right friends. I didn't wear the right clothes. I just really felt like I never fit in. So going into high school, I made up in my mind that I was going to do whatever it took to make sure that I never had to relive those past 3 years of my life. I joined the dance team with a few of my close friends, and it was amazing. I was hanging out with the right people, and I was wearing the right clothes, and I always made sure that I was not with the people who would make others look down on me or who wouldn't make me feel accepted. So whenever my close friends started drinking and partying and doing drugs, my sophomore year, that just seemed like the next decision for me to take to make sure that I was always accepted and that I never felt left out again. At the end of my senior year, a relationship that I was in ended, a relationship that I thought was going to end in marriage, and I found myself about to start college not knowing my identity, not knowing what my purpose in life was. And it just began a very dark downward spiral of just feeling so lost and so alone. At the end of a 6-month period, I found myself sitting alone in my bedroom, heavily addicted to drugs, and wanting so badly to hold on to this secret life that I was living that I would rather die than have my family and my friends find out the way that I had been living for the past 6 months. I found myself writing letters to my family and friends, telling them that this wasn't their fault and that this was it. I saw no other option and that my life was going to end that day. By the grace of God, a few days later, I ended up in the emergency room because of a panic attack, and I was found forcing myself to come clean to my parents and my friends about the drug addiction that had just consumed my life for the past 6 months. During that season, my parents were living out of state, and I believe that they just showed me the love and the grace of Jesus Christ more so than they ever have in my entire life. They saw that I was doing well in school, in a career that I wanted to excel at, that I had a gift and a talent for, and they told me that they were going to support me in my road to recovery, in my outpatient stay at rehab, where I had to go every weeknight for about a month to sit with others who were on the same road to recovery that I was. And I finished school. I was the youngest court reporting graduate at that time out of Corpus, and at 20 years old, I was the youngest working court reporter. And I found such pride and such purpose and such acceptance, which I had been searching for during this whole time, in that career. I wanted everybody to know how much money I was making and how much clothes I could buy and the awesome job that I had at just 20 years old. Until one day I woke up with such a gaping hole in my heart. I didn't understand why money couldn't buy me joy the way that it once had. Relationships had no joy or no purpose in them. And I just found myself again lost and alone and wondering what to do to fill that hole in my heart. I reached out to my best friend of 7 years, and she answered me with a text that changed my life. She just told me 3 words. She said, "You need God." We Googled a church, like a college Bible study, and we wound up there that night. And I remember going and sitting with just 10 other 20-something-year-olds who were worshiping God, who were laughing and having a good time. And I had just never seen something like that before. I heard them singing praise and worship songs, and it just literally brought me to my knees, hearing the love that God had for me and the way that He had been with me my whole life. I started attending a church that my uncle was a pastor at, and the children's pastor on one Sunday showed a video during the children's sermon, which to this day he tells me should have never been showed. And he showed it because God told him to. And it was a video of a girl that was walking with Jesus, and throughout her life she chooses drugs, she chose alcohol, she chose relationships, and none of them ever bring her fulfillment. And the whole time Jesus is there calling her back, pursuing her, loving her. And it was something like a movie. I remember everything around me just went blurry. And it was just me and that screen. And it was as if I was watching my life unfold before my eyes. And I was just brought to tears that the God of this universe, who I always thought was so unreachable and so big and so mighty, He loved me and He was chasing me, and He was there through every single decision that I had made. That Bible study that I had started attending was started by my now husband and a few of his friends, and it turned into one of the largest college gatherings in San Antonio. Together with him, we were able to share our stories of redemption and hope with other college students in the area who were looking for fulfillment and purpose in life. And we got married a few years later, and we have a 2-year-old baby boy who's full of energy and makes us really tired, and he's really smart and healthy. And that just is such proof of God's grace, and that He can do so much more than we could ever ask for or imagine. And this life is hard, but God is good, and He loves you. So that's my story.